Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa. And today we are with the Aussies again. Focus on Australia. Again with the amazing Rachel Vaughan and her brother Andrew McIntyre, who never ever swears. And no Aussie ever swears in that household. It's the Sappers, right? But anyway, we are talking about, of course, we're continuing the conversation we had with Andrew and Rachel last time on the shenanigans of their father and what they've been getting up to. And from what I can see, we've got some definite truth bombs being dropped today. So looking forward to that as we talk further about cold cases, corruption, and unanswered questions. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you all. And yeah, I just have to tell you, remember, we just had 9 days of darkness, and it started with Andrew and Rachel on the last show. That was the first power outage we had. We're in again for flood warnings. So you got lots of rain and floods. Well, yes, same amount of rain. Thank God the wind is not as bad this time. Let's hope. But we're in the thick of our next flood. I'm a great believer that this is actually the clearing of the grid anyway, because this right here where I live is prime child transportation area. So again, please just keep our community in your prayers. And yeah, let's just wash this crap away. Ta-da. And on that note, whilst the crap is being washed away in South Africa at the rate of knots, I'm very happy to have the Aussies back. How are you, Andrew? How are you, Rachel? Always amazing to have you.
I'm good. I'm good.
I woke up with a pulse. Bad luck, say Paul. But I'll try to be serious, Andy.
Oh, and when we say SAPOL, South Australian Police, it's the acronym.
South Australian Police, they are there to save us.
Yes, yes, they certainly are. Oh,
right, well, this should be interesting. I've brought my little collection of bits and pieces with us, and we're going to go over several topics. They'll all be interesting. And I'll try not to make it as long-winded as the last time I opened my mouth and couldn't shut it for an hour and 45 minutes. I am the shy retiring type.
Introductory session. It was fun.
That was fun.
Shanti is frozen, so
yes.
While she's frozen, we might hold up for the audience evidence. This is proof that Andrew McIntyre does not have a criminal record. And the reason why we're sharing that is because so many people in our family say that Andrew is a criminal.
Oh, you can't you see it? It's written all over me.
And it's very annoying.
So yeah, we've sorted that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure I smoked a cigarette at some stage in my life and drank alcohol.
Good God, no.
Which I've given up.
Another amazing thing that I wanted to show, which Andrew just showed me, is this. So this is the home that we had when we were both growing up. Hi, Shanti, you're back.
I've just had another power outage. The power has just gone off again.
Oh, you poor darling.
The last time we had you on, the power went off. This time, I was literally just saying it. There's something here. There's the connection happening, guys. I say watch for the signs. And this is a God wink that something is going on. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's good. I'm saying it's good. I really am saying it's good. Anyway, I don't want to interrupt you. Sorry, but if I go off again, please just carry on. Because, I'm on hotspot now.
Yeah. The number of times that Andrew and I have spoken on the phone and the phone just cuts out. It doesn't happen with other people, Andrew. Yeah, or a couple of choice people, but yeah, it's only when really interesting things are coming up.
You know, you can't draw too long a bow on that one. Our communications is not real good. We're at the end of the chain and backward old Australia, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
But our crime's thriving and our cover-ups are always there. We're famous for those.
Oh, yeah.
So
I was just showing.
Yes, we were just showing the Macklin Street property.
This sign, when I was first told about it, so that's the property, that's the house we grew up on. If people want to have a look at that on Macklin Street in Edwardstown. And our father put a sign out the front. Now, that's the do not trespass sign. Now, what's very interesting about that is when I was first told about it, it said that you couldn't trespass on it because it was the property of the Crown. Now, I've since discovered that bunkers and the tunnels were owned by the government. The 1938 tunnels were owned by the government. So this property was literally protected by the Crown because it was owned by the Crown, because tunnels and bunkers were considered Crown land. My father knew, obviously, because he was using it. So that was his way of protecting the property. And that is an incredibly important piece of information.
And he was protected his whole life. He worked.
Talk about deception. I mean, that is like, what do you even call that? That is beyond deception. You know, what do you even call that? I don't think there is a word for that.
Revelation of the
yeah. Thank God for revealing it. That's for sure. Wow.
Yeah, and it's what Freemasons do. We also I've been sharing recently that there's this push in Tasmania for these human remains that are in one of the museums in part of Australia to be verified and identified, because the coroners were just doling out human remains to museums and things in Australia. At one stage, people were being hunted. Original people were being hunted for museum specimens, and anybody who didn't have family, who was in an institution and died in an institution, and some of them were made to die in institutions because then their specimens could be sold, and they're worth a lot of money. And this article's prime information, because in the 50s, people's brains were being sold constantly
for 5 shillings.
5 shillings. So, and the families weren't notified. Now, brains are really important because in Australia, Kuru-infected brain tissues were used for prion studies prior to the COVID shots. And I've talked about this at length on my socials. There's more evidence of that. But yeah, I'll hand it over to you.
It used to occur in north of Australia in New Guinea because they had this habit of inviting the neighbours over and eating them. And that's where it started to crop up, but nobody understood what was happening. But you're not allowed to consume the brains of your same species. It'll send you crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
What else would you like?
And it was the World Health Organization who was doing the studies through Adelaide doctors, the World Health Organization.
But Max was a real kingpin in all of the stuff.
I have a question though. Why? I mean, we understand Australia. I mean, from, understanding the orphan trains and stuff like that, how Australia was basically flooded with really repopulation and prisoners really in many ways. Do you think that the reason Australia is so bad when it comes to this is because of that? Do you think it's because they sent those people there back when the orphan trains and stuff were happening, especially to do the experimentation on them? I always wonder why. I mean, every continent has its grossness, right? I mean, I think the Americans have had it bad in terms of brainwashing. Geez, those Americans, really as a nation, they have been pummeled with horrific things as well. In Africa, of course, we have our own set of challenges here, right? But all of it involves kids, trafficking, human consumption, all of that. Why do you think Australia is it so bad in terms of the testing, the Freemasons, and it's like so well organized there? It's like South Africa, it happens, it's happening, but it's clandestine. It's very clandestine, right? Australia, it's like in your face. Am I wrong? I'm just interested to try and get to the bottom of why Australia.
Well, I'll have something to say from my time I spent in school, infant school, primary, high school, what we were taught at the time. But you see, you didn't have to be a really bad person to come to Australia. They had this continent down south, and it was away the furthest part of the world you could ever go other than New Zealand. And I don't know what year they discovered New Zealand, but let's just stick to Australia. So to get a one-way ticket to Australia and do it tough was cost you a loaf of bread. I mean, you could be sent here for stealing a sandwich or picking a crumb up off the footpath that didn't belong to you. I'm being serious, they just grabbed anybody and everybody and they bundled them up and they sent them down here and then treated them badly. And I'm sure there was a lot of ill feeling, but you didn't have to be a hardcore criminal to get to Australia. So Australia was founded with ordinary people, but probably of the peasant class, and a lot of political prisoners, I should imagine, even way back then, hundreds of years ago. If you questioned the monarchy or anything at the time, you'd go to places like Australia, and that hasn't changed. But Rachel may know a lot more about it than I do.
I think it's also epigenetics. They wanted to get the traumatized people who had obviously been struggling already and sent them to a place where they had controlled ley lines, and all of the Freemasonry was already sort of being created to create streetscapes that were controlled to control the populace. So it was about control and how well they could control people.
And also, if you look at Australia with Aboriginal people, the kangaroo, the cryptids, you know, and the ley lines and stuff there, because it would seem like Africa, the people, obviously the Aboriginal people being of the first people, right, would have had very special gifts, talents, abilities to connect as the indigenous people here do, right? So I'm sure they would have been weaponizing that a lot as well, because I have no doubt that also the kangaroos are under a lot of attack. I believe that that's why there's so many fires in Australia, is because of the kangaroos, the vibration that they give off as they hop. It interferes with the direct energy weapons they use there. And that's why they will try and rid, one of the reasons why they will, but that for me is what I've seen basically, is that they target the kangaroo.
I'd say something about kangaroos because I'm a hunter, but I don't hunt kangaroos because I don't see it as a sport. They're pretty thick. They're stupid. You could walk up to them and say boo and they just about have a heart attack. But they're in plague proportions here because we farm, we grow grain, we put water tanks out, and back in the old days before white man came here, they only bred on the good years, and there was very little grass for them to eat because there was scrub all over Australia. And so kangaroos now, despite what people are led to believe overseas, that's just rubbish, that they're not an endangered species. We may have one or two rock wallabies here that are pretty scarce, but we don't try to kill them, and we just cull the eastern grey because it's overwhelming, and the amount of damage that's done to people's cars, etc., every year is phenomenal. But so the kangaroo myth is there's plenty of them, and they're multiplying at about 2 or 3 million per year. Even
on
with
that
the
note, Andrew's animal lover, so just for people who might be concerned.
I love animals. I even blow kisses at myself when I stand in the mirror.
I appreciate what you're saying. I don't think the kangaroos are endangered as a species, but I think that they are targeted for the reasons that they are cryptids. And I'm very happy, actually, that they are multiplying, because in my opinion, when a species is under direct threat, it's going to multiply. You know, you're going to obviously try and save your species as much as what you can. So I'm very happy to hear that, actually, because that's probably the reason Australia is still above land.
They're doing better than they ever had, and they make great shoes.
Oh, stop it.
Sorry, but they do. We export their hides to America, and they make world's best leather for shoes. It's the fact.
Well, I'm sure they do. And I mean, and that would probably be one of the reasons that they are obviously targeted, because they make money. It's a commodity now, so it actually serves them. And I look forward to the day that human beings actually decide that we don't have to kill something else so that we can thrive. That, for me, is the ideal society.
Australia, they're all fully employed. There's always a job for them. Let's move on to this legal business we're discussing here. Enough about kangaroos.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, we'll probably get stuck there for a while.
Well, we wanted to talk about the Somerton man today because that's one of the situations that we feel our father had he played a hand in it.
Yeah.
And it's a case from 1948, I believe, where a man was found on the beach. He had a cigarette in his hand that had burnt down. There's no cause of death. My father knew about things like rice, and he used all sorts of herbs and things. He knew all about nightshade and all the rest. In fact, he used to grow some of these things in the backyard. He told me about ricin in the 80s, so he knew about it then, before Breaking Bad made it famous. So it's possible that this man was poisoned, but nobody knew what his identity was. Well, my father had his identity card, and we've got evidence of that.
Yeah, and the Somerton man, the police were covering that up from day one. They had a packet
Somerton
of burnt.
man. Oh, sorry, I just want to make sure I'm hearing you. Okay.
He was found on Somerton Beach. It's our distant one, and then the Beaumont case came up.
Yeah.
So the Beaumont case sort of took over from the Somerton man, but that was the first massive cover-up by SAPOL.
Yeah.
And we have suspicions about who he was, but he was found on the beach. A witness said a tall, thin, dark-haired man carried him on his shoulder along the low water mark and laid him to rest up the beach, right near the stairs. This person thought it was a bit of a joke to put a lit cigarette in his fingers, in the dead man's fingers, for it to burn down. But you see, he had a packet of cigarettes on him, which was an expensive packet of cigarettes, but the cigarettes inside had been swapped out for a cheaper brand, and it was suspected that somebody had swapped his cigarettes out. This is all in studies from America when they did a special program on it. And SAPOL grabbed the pack of cigarettes and burnt them, destroyed them, so the cigarettes couldn't be examined for poison. So it goes right back to the beginning. Our father knew far too much about the whole case. He told my sister Ruth Collins in depth, great details about the case before anybody really knew a lot about it. Like, it went to sleep for a long time, but Max revived it, and we have, and that extended to the point where, by the time the American program did a very accurate investigation of the Somerton man, right up to the point where he was exhumed from his grave, everything was looking like it was all pretty accurate up to that point. And then it went absolutely mad. I mean, crazy beyond belief. There's this guy, Professor Abbott, who married a relation of the Somerton man, and that would be correct. And then started sort of building a case and trying to work out what was going on. And it was on the money for a while. And then all of a sudden, at the time that the body was taken out of the grave, they come up with this plan, and they sent the information about the Somerton man. And I do not bullshit. I do not lie. This is correct. It can all be researched, but people forget. They sent details about the Somerton man over to Disneyland, and this is not a joke. And there was a well-known guy there that made used AI to create faces and personalities and people that are not real. And they gave him all this information, and he came up with a composite, like a picture of the guy, and said, this is what his AI thinks that the Somerton man would look like. Well, we know what the Somerton man looks like because it's a picture of him on a slab one day after he died. There's no joke. There's a picture of him, and also Ruth Collins, my sister, and Marcy Hannenberg examined a ID card of him when he was 18, and beyond any doubt, it's the same person,
It's
right?
the same man.
We knew who he was. There was a 2-page spread in the Advertiser. It was all sorted. The very next day, SAPOL do a big spread of the Advertiser talking about the unknown man, the Somerton man, that nobody knows who they are, who he is, right? So that phased everybody. But anyway, getting back to this AI-generated person, well, then things started to get really strange. And anybody can question me on this. They can contact Rachel. And things became really strange because a hair was plucked from the plaster cast, the death mask of the Somerton man. It was sent over to a person in America that was supposed to be some expert in DNA. And then she came up with a DNA sequence that came back to Australia and linked the AI generated person from Disneyland suddenly had DNA. You have to keep in mind he was artificially generated by a guy who was just asked to make up what he thought the Somerton man looked like. Suddenly he has DNA. Suddenly he has a family that lived in Victoria. Suddenly, all of a sudden, he was a painter. Then they start saying that he was addicted to paint thinners and he poisoned himself by drinking paint thinners or something. An absolute rubbish, absolute fabricated bullshit from South Australia. And I don't know why people do these things. It may be that they finally give up under the pressure from SAPOL and the judiciary. They may just give up. They may be hypnotized. I don't know. They may be blackmailed. I suspect blackmail comes into a lot of the decisions in South Australia. But this guy suddenly, so they have a picture of him. His name's, they gave him a name, James Webb. The joke is that web of deception, you know, it's an encrypted joke on society. So this James Webb, who's been artificially made in Disneyland, suddenly has AI generated DNA, which matches a fictitious hair that was taken from a plaster cast in Central America. I hope nobody sneezed on the way and lost it, so we'll just grab another one. And so it reaches the point where and you have to think that the advertiser is very suspect. I have dealings with them and they just change with the tide. They put this big spread in there about it's all been sold through DNA. Suddenly they make James Webb a real person with DNA and he has a family. So then, because they had to be careful what they did, then they got this family photo of James West's family, cousins and everybody else, and they put him in the middle in a white silhouette in a family photo. And everybody who's been brainwashed goes, there he is. He's with his family. And the case was solved. Well, SAPOL vomited at that one because although they're trying to conceal what really happened to him, they can't agree with absolute bullshit. So that's all I have to say about the Somerton man. And it's a disgrace.
What's even more interesting is not only did our father have the real identity card of the Somerton man. So that's the Somerton man deceased on the left. That's his identity card on the right. And a forensic pathologist has said that the ears are identical. Ears don't change. That it's an unusual ear shape. This man is related to the Somerton man. And our father decided to have a relationship with the Somerton man's daughter.
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. No.
Her daughter.
The plot thickens and it's very confusing for mere mortals that are not McIntyres that have to be superhuman to get our heads around this sort of rubbish. I know that my father, when he came back from Pinaroo when he was 16, he actually lied about being in Australia when he was 18. So he covered it up. He was 18. He was back in Australia. He was also mixing with medical people, doctors, nurses, medical staff, all sorts of people, because he was having a homosexual relationship with my uncle who was in training to be a doctor. I mean, it really makes you go, oh gosh. So anyway, I mentioned this before. It's family knowledge, and I'm prepared to talk about it. But the thing is that he had connections. Max had connections with medical people. So what I think is that he knew the Somerton man's nurse girlfriend, who wasn't very old at the time. He was probably jealous enough that the Somerton man might be cutting his lunch, so he killed him. And I'd say that my father is very, very definitely involved in the murder of the Somerton man for a reason that nobody else could possibly think about. That my father had, as a young man, had the hots for his nurse girlfriend. Because, and I have photos, I'll show them next time, of my father with the same woman in the 60s. he was knocking around with her, having a relationship with her behind my mother's back, like other people he had relationships with. And at the same event, there she is in a doorway with her daughter. Now, her daughter, my father was not only having a relationship with the Somerton man's nurse girlfriend in the 60s, he was also having sex with her daughter. Oh, it's pretty horrible, isn't it? Or normal for him. And so later on, he got her pregnant. This is the daughter. And he kept her in a house around the corner.
2 streets away.
2 streets away, where James Carl Thompson, that's one of his names, my half-brother who calls himself James McIntyre, or James Carl Thompson, because he wants to keep, his options open. He grew up around the corner, and my younger brother used to go over and see him. And I've talked about it earlier. I won't go into it again. And so there's the connection. I mean, you can't get away from Max McIntyre being involved in everything. Somerton man, all sorts of murders, abductions. And here, what the SAPOL did was they grabbed innocent people when they couldn't solve one of Max's crimes, because he killed lots of people. And they would take innocent people off the street, trump up evidence against them, and keep them in prison till they died. And that's how they did it here in South Australia.
And just on that note, one of the murders that I witnessed my father perpetrate, there's a man in jail for that because of DNA evidence, which could easily have been transferred innocently because his daughter was having a friendship with this girl that I saw murdered. Her pajama top was left out to be found. And when nobody noticed it, someone rang the police to tell them. Oh, no, sorry, someone rang the neighbour to tell them that the piece of clothing was on the front lawn because they really wanted it to be found. So the DNA evidence was planted on this piece of clothing that belonged to this little girl. I've told police, I've been telling police since 2009 that I witnessed her murder, and they incarcerated something for that in 2016. Now, they used this amazing brand new DNA technology, and they sent it over to some other country. I think it was Denmark or something. So it was all this, and they made a great, huge furor about it. The only thing that I know of, apart from, all the furor that was going on about how this guy was definitely the guy because they had this DNA evidence on this planted material, was at one point during his trial, it stopped because of a letter. Now, I think that probably was my evidence that had been sent in. I still don't know for certain. I did know a court-martial who had promised me she was going to put that information in. She worked very closely with the court. So, this is what they do in South Australia. They just create patsies here, there, and everywhere. They do it constantly.
My father was involved in so many abductions and murders of children. He was involved in all of them. He didn't necessarily kill all these people, but they had to go through him so he could cut them up or dispose of them, sell the unknown ones to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, the spare parts division. That's what he used to do. Yeah. But what we do here is, it used to be no body, no crime. So then they did Dieter Fennick. He may have died recently. No, most of them. Is he still alive? Yeah, he's still alive. But they're hoping he'll be dead soon. Yeah. He has diabetes, so they won't treat him for it. But he was put away twice, and I've spoken about this before. No body, no evidence linking him to the crime whatsoever. Yet they got him for murder without a body on both counts. And like several other people that have been wrongly accused, because Rachel and I know because our father did it, they're in prison. And they invented a new one. It's, look, if you show us where you buried the body, we'll let you out of prison. Yeah. And there's one guy that's come up with about 30 different places that he buried the people, and there's nobody there because he didn't kill anybody in the first place. So he's so desperate, he's just pulling up ideas, hoping that somebody will find a body there so he can get out of prison. So you're in prison till you die. Yeah. You're put in there when they can't find a body. They don't have any evidence against you. It's all trumped up. They put you in there, and then you cannot get out unless you tell them where the body is. Now, you think about that. It's mad.
They're
is
so clever.
wow. How
They're so clever.
depraved. The
Victims
worst
of
kind of torture.
Yeah,
That's
they
right.
get
Worst
victims of
kind
crime
of
who
torture.
organise petitions to ensure that these laws come around. So I know people who organised a petition to make sure this law went through because they thought they were doing the right thing, and it was not the right thing.
It's a game for SAPOL
is.
and the judiciary here. It's a game amongst those that are up there in law enforcement. It's called Go, and it was taken from the Chinese about 5,000 years ago. And 5,000 years ago, this game existed. It's a game of strategy. You encircle your enemy and you take them out by whatever means possible. And they all play this game. When I was a kid, I could walk into the main Freemasons Hall and there'd be 100 men playing this card game on 50 little card tables. And I've talked about that too, but they still play it. And it's a game for them. And innocent people spend the rest of their lives in prison. And occasionally somebody like Henry Keogh gets out because he didn't do it. He didn't drown his girlfriend. And the police commissioner is screaming that he's going to get him back in prison. He's going to get him. He's going to do everything he can to get him. There's something wrong with that bloke. Yeah. We'll talk about him later because I wrote him a very special letter. Where is it? A very special letter telling him where the Beaumont children and 3 other wards of state were buried. And he didn't get back to me, bless him. And we have the letter here, and it's lost itself like all of the evidence gets lost. Let's just have a little sort through it. Everybody can have a chuckle.
So a lot of people don't know that our major crime department head, Doug Barr, died hanging in his closet.
Yeah.
In 2019. I wrote an article on it.
This is the article a very good article that Rachel wrote on Doug Barr a couple of weeks after I threw him under the bus and told a lot of bad things about him. And we have this other thing we do here. The police wear body-worn cameras and then they throw them in the ocean or they crush them under their car.
Now, when that police, head of the major crime department, died, his house was being raided.
He used to be head of the major crimes, and until he started getting involved with Andrew McIntyre, and he set me up to be executed by setting down Netley police station. Oh, Andrew, go down to the Netley police station and take some policemen around and dig those bodies up, mate. Can't I do it here? No, you have to go down to Netley. So I did, and they were waiting to arrest me as a terrorist and for the public safety. And the idea was I was going to be taken away, no phone call, nothing. No, my children would have buried me. They were going to execute me. They were going to kill me. So I went back the next day to show them I had a sense of humour. I mean, I speed dialed my solicitor who was hungry to get $32,000 out of me for defending an AVO, which is something we'll mention in a minute because I've got a beauty here. And it was foiled. They weren't allowed to go up and kill me because then I would have just disappeared. Oh, maybe they could have dragged an innocent person in off the street for killing Andrew McIntyre, probably. And then they give themselves more brownie points. And what great people they are. They create the capturing of innocent people for crimes, and then they give themselves medals. It's appalling.
Yeah.
But
so that letter's not here.
But
wow. It's amazing to me, you know, when you speak about the guy or the people that are sitting in prison, obviously innocent for crimes your dad's committed. I'm trying to understand, if you wouldn't mind, if I can just touch back on that, how it's possible that it's like that is a blatant crime against these people. So are there not those within the system that actually will oppose that? I mean, that is so obvious. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, how is that even? I mean, they did the same thing here in the apartheid era. You know, they would arrest, especially black people, and they would be sitting in prison without any bail conditions, nothing, just in the most appalling conditions. And so I know that exists in terms of, but before your trial, once you get a trial, and at least the evidence you present must kind of make you kind of innocent, right? To at least have reasonable doubt. But there's no reasonable doubt.
It's very hard to defend yourself in South Australia, because what happens is the reporters that get the gig, as we say here, to report on crime, they get the heads up from SAPOL, or they don't get any information. So then their information they collect goes to SAPOL, they censor it, and like me, you get 5% of what I actually said. But you see here, SAPOL collar some poor innocent bastard, and it's usually men, very rarely women, because us men are the ones that do all the crime. And they get you, and then the advertiser weighs in on it, and it's trial by media. Have you heard that expression, trial by media?
Yeah.
Well, they wade into it, and for weeks they do full-page coverage, front page on how guilty this guy is. They did the same to Martin Bright down in Tasmania. The poor guy didn't even know how to unjam his own rifle. He was a novice, and he was turned into the world's most famous hitman that's had more hits for a hitman than anybody did at any meeting where you kill people. He's just unbelievably had no idea how to kill people. But they gave his picture to the media, and they put him on the front page of every paper in Tasmania and right through Australia. And then they asked people to identify who was there doing the shooting. And they went, oh, it's him. It's Martin Bright. Because they'd seen him, they'd had Martin Bright rammed down their throat. So it's trial by media. And the media are in bed with law enforcement.
Yeah, of course.
They are.
The media, law enforcement, judicial system, they all form the same circle. It's the way they've strategized that. They've got every base covered, these guys. It's appalling to me that something. And why is your father still being protected, though, even after his death? Because surely they would, once he's dead, we could then say, okay, let the guys out. He's no longer there. It's kind of like you survivors mentioning names after someone's dead. So why are they still in prison?
You've just handed me that one on a plate. Thank you. I know all about this one, because in the Mulligan inquiry, Ted Mulligan demanded that Andrew McIntyre be interviewed by SAPOL. Now, I should have been interviewed by Special Crimes. SAPOL had nothing to do with raping and murdering children. That's another department. So, I can't see anything. It's not my particular department. And so 10 years later, I got this interview, and I'm having a bit of fun with these two detectives. And one of them's a pretty good bloke, and I won't mention his name because he'll finish up hanging in the closet with Doug Barr, and that's a fact. And I try not to contact him. I have his phone number, but I won't ring him up unless it's really necessary. There's a couple of things I need to mention here. Things are happening. But anyway, I did this last time. I almost lost the plot.
The canisters.
About the, what was that?
The canisters.
The canisters, yeah. They start interrogating me about the sealed container. The sealed containers. And I'm going, where's this leading? This is going to make fun of me. Bodies in the barrel at Truro. We got some beauties here. We used to kidnap and murder people and then render them down in acid in an old bank vault and then collect their pension checks. I'm sure that they do it in all Western countries.
Yes, no doubt. Anyway, there's other murders at Truro.
So I thought they were setting me up for some sort of a joke, like I'm gullible. So I told them I let them talk and talk and talk. And they convinced me that they think there's a sealed container, and there is, in the bottom of the sinkhole, with the 3 wards of state, the 3 Beaumont children, and the Aboriginal children that Brian literally stated that Max told him are in the well as well. So we have a journalist here that stated categorically that my father told him that there are Aboriginal children buried in the sinkhole. Now, that's a big one, isn't it? So they're convinced that there's a time capsule in there, and there is. And in that time capsule, it dobs everybody in, everybody that was involved in the day, all of the police that were involved in the cover-up. Because my father was a genius and he was a good writer. I thought he was an idiot, a real drongo, but he was different.
He had altar parts, and he was.
Yeah, he had lots of different.
He had a very extremely intelligent altar part that we used to call Evil Max. That was the abuser.
So Sapol are waiting for the trap, and the trap is if somebody digs up the Beaumont children and they open that sealed container. Oh, and by the way, it was before stainless steel, and he was dipping them in molten bitumen.
Yeah,
so clever.
Old milk canister. So our father was an ASIO operative, and he worked as a line tapper for telecom. He listened to people's phone calls. I was used in his blackmail operations in the tunnel system. I showed that picture earlier. He had the place protected by the Crown because it was Crown land. The tunnels and the bunker were Crown land. I am probably featured in the videos and the other material in those canisters. And that's after 10 years of refusing to interview Andrew.
But in this particular one, you won't be, because it was before you were born.
Right.
And that's what you have. That's what you have to realize. You're from the next generation, being 19 years younger than myself. You were brought up in Max's second chamber of horrors, where he was involved in all of the family murders. I was prior to that, the butchering times where the hospitals needed lots of body parts, and they were only getting body parts from elderly people that died of old age or accident. We didn't have a lot of accidents back in those days, and so they didn't have any children to work on. So Max was given the task of going out and abducting children from the orphanages and murdering them and processing them, and he was paid good money for it. The man was rolling in money but wouldn't feed his own family. We were starving. But yeah, the Sapol know that he's stitched up. But my brother, the night that my father died, my brother took all of his research out and burnt it. And that would have been with the blessing of Sapol. What a relief for them. All of those thousands of pages on police corruption burnt. So thanks a lot, Daniel Mack.
Why did he do that? Was he protecting your dad?
Danny protecting himself. Danny does what he's told. Max did what he had to do. He was protected by Sapol because it was they were scratching each other's backs. I don't want to say anything bad about my Danny, but I hate him, and I don't have any time for his sister Simone either. And I'll get the better of them in the end, because I'm planning on living for a long time and going to all of these people's funerals. That'll be a joy, something to get you up in the morning. But Danny can do anything he likes because he's protected by Sapol. He's the guardian of the sinkhole. Yeah. And you will be shot if you go there. And the police will put a gun in your hand and say it was self-defense. And that's about all we should say about that, because we don't want to cover ground that we covered in the last one. But we have so much bullying and thuggery in our police force here. It's almost equal to what you might find in South Africa. It's pretty well. We hear terrible things about law enforcement over there, but not much. Your actors play the parts of villains in American movies, like some real beauties, and their accent just convinces you that they're evil. I like the accent. It's very powerful. I always make somebody talks to me like that. But yeah, all things aside, Rachel, help me out here while I take a breath.
So one of the other reasons why people don't get protected like these patsies, the South Australian jails are full of patsies. Part of it, so Andrew mentioned the name Andrew Keogh earlier. We had a forensic officer who wasn't a coroner. He wasn't even trained to be a forensic medical doctor. His name was Colin Manick.
Yeah.
And all 10,000 of his autopsies have to be revisited. Yeah. According to Professor of Law Bob Moles. So that's one of our professors has said all 10,000 have to be revisited. because this man has some very bad connections. I know the cult members that he was involved with. Now, he signed off on an autopsy of a woman that had some bruising on her legs who drowned. Her partner, Andrew Keogh, was put in jail for 20 years when it was found that actually, no, he didn't do it.
No.
The police commissioner went mental. This Andrew Keogh was compensated $2 million, I believe it was.
Bit more, yeah.
The commissioner went completely nuts.
Yeah.
He didn't want him to be free. He'd lost his...
Right from the start, the guy wasn't guilty.
No.
Just because he had an insurance policy with his name on it, he done it. Andrew was his name.
Andrew Keogh.
You can't trust anybody called Andrew. Ask SAPOL and say, Andrew who? We don't know any Andrews in Australia. They don't exist. What about McIntyre? And that's when they run through the wall.
Oh, I should mention too, Alan Maxwell McIntyre is our father's name. He named Andrew Maxwell McIntyre, same initials. Freemasons are obsessed with names, and he has treated Andrew like his alter ego. In his mind, in one of my father's altar parts, or he set this up, Andrew is the one who's done all of these crimes.
Oh, there's things about
That's
me I
what the
can't
whole
even tell
family
you about
has been
because
told.
we could write a book on all of the things that Andrew McIntyre's done.
The rubbish that I was told throughout
is.
my life about Andrew, and then getting to know him when we finally all spoke about what had happened to us as children. He's nothing like anything that my father told me or other brainwashed members of the family had said. And so this is, you know, this is part of the reason why, you know, I'm really glad.
What have people been saying about me? I'm so shocked. Oh.
And it's all happening. It's so frustrating.
Look,
you know?
There's something that I did want to mention, but Rachel can have a turn. I just want to show you the many faces of Max McIntyre. Here you've got him at the Klein's jetty site with a friend of his who's now deceased through, heart attack or something. There's Max as a young man. He'd be about 35 there. Up here, you've got the little guy's little Andy. That's me. Then you've got the guy in the middle is the infamous Darth Vader, Anthony Munro, who's just come out of prison. And alongside of him is a 6'4" lad who's the son of a Freemason, Bob Gooch, and he disappeared off the face of the earth. Another one of my father's boys that disappeared, but that was taken in 1963. Then you have here a picture of Mr. Disguisey. That's my father when he married my mother, the poor woman, and that's not a good photo of her, but it's pretty accurate of what Max looked like. And then over here you've got married to Sue, that's Rachel's daughter, and there's Max again. He's growing a beard and trying to look complete. That was during the family murder days, where he'd change his hair, and when he was younger, so he wouldn't be identified raping children and that, or in porno movies, he even bleached his hair white, his chest hair white, silver, and he was only 30 years old or younger. I remember as a kid being on his chest. It was silver white. And later on, I saw him with his shirt off and I went, my God, his hair's black. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And he even bleached his hair at one stage. So he was Mr. Disguisey. He used to wear disguises all the time.
Yeah.
He even followed my son and I around wearing a long blonde wig. And that's the long blonde wig that he used on the day when he was the guy with long blonde hair down at the beach on the Beaumont day. And then he simply became somebody else.
Yeah.
So during the day, he became different people. But we've already talked about that, so we don't want to go over that business again. This is a picture of Doug Barr's wife, and she was trying to dive into what happened to her husband. Now, I put it out there. I'll put that up there. Hopefully people can read that later. That she could contact me and I'd tell her all about what happened to her husband, but nobody gets to contact Andrew McIntyre, and most witnesses just give up, right? Well, I don't give up. Rachel doesn't give up. We're here for a long time, and we're here for a good time because we upset people in high places. And just so people know what we're talking about, that's Alan Knight next to his black Pontiac, was it? Pontiac or Buick? I think it was a Pontiac. That was used on the day. That black car picked my father up. I'm not saying Alan Knight was involved. I think Wayne Brown was driving the car, according to my sister Ruth Collins.
The day the children
that Wayne Brown was driving it.
Yeah.
Wayne Brown was my father's right-hand man. Doesn't have any criminal record. I can't say anything bad about him because I've heard bad things about him, but he never molested me, and that's what you have to be very careful of. Wayne Brown was always prim and proper around Andrew McIntyre, but I suspect he has. I know he's done a lot of bad things, but I have to be careful because I don't want to spend my days behind bars. But
well, if he was your dad's right-hand guy, he must be the secret keeper. You know,
he
good
was the
cop, bad cop.
person. He was the hypnosis person.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids didn't even know they were being raped because they were hypnotized. They just woke up uncomfortable or dead.
Yes.
Now, here we have on my right, that's the hand that I'm, don't worry, it's the hand that's holding the picture. We have Robin Thompson, son of the Somerton man. His younger sister, was from another acquaintance or husband of the nurse after the Somerton man died. But Robin Thompson was 16 years old there. The guy next to him is tall. It's the same guy that was at the top of the boat ramp next to Tony and I. That was Trevor Gooch, both the same age. John Pike was 16. Anthony Munro was 16. It's amazing, isn't it? They're all dad's boys. And there's Claire that's deceased in the red top. There's my mother alongside of her. Ruth's there. I'm there. But you see, how can we not be involved with the Somerton man case? I'm standing next to the guy. Ruth's looking up at him. And our father was telling us what a special bloke he was. Well, he was just a 16-year-old teenager going skin diving. But he had to tell us how special he was and how important he was.
That was the son.
The son of the Somerton man, you see.
Yeah.
So my father was telling it. He was telling it all.
Yeah.
And that's why I refer to Anthony Munro as being Darth Vader. That's the famous shot that's one of the few photographs taken that I didn't supply.
Yeah.
Somebody else took that photo, about the only one. All the rest of them you see are from me. But, you know, Anthony Munro got a bit of he did his time. And that's what he did. And he did 12 years because he paid the victims a considerable amount of money.
3 convictions for child abuse.
Well, 3 convictions of child abuse, but 2 of those were for multiple offences against different children. But the last one was, he shouldn't have even been convicted for that because he'd paid $50,000 for the kid to keep his mouth shut. He'd given him world holidays, paid for his marriage. He'd sent him around the world, taken away on holidays as an adult when he was in his 20s. He had bought and given him a house and land up in Brisbane, can you believe? And they had an agreement. He happens to be a relation of John Pike, but it's a close relation of John Pike. See, I'm the one that drops all the bombshells because people are too scared to pull me into a courtroom, but it's going to happen or I'll be found on the side of the road cold.
No, that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen because they're not allowed to, because it'll be too obvious that, you know, it'll be too obvious. But the thing is, I've just dropped another one. The 3rd conviction was Tony Munro shouldn't have been convicted for that because the judge, it was so minimal. It was bullshit. He only covered my penis once with his mouth, the lad said. Oh, and another time, the other time was he touched my penis with his finger. Well, that's bullshit. Tony been having a sexual relationship with his kid since he was under 10 years old because I picked it when he was 10 years old and had a blue fit in Anthony Munro's sister's house. No, it was Anthony's house, Munro's house, and I had a meltdown about Tony Munro taking this lad away to the Maldives for a fortnight.
When he was 10?
And I said, he's a pedophile, right? And nothing was done about it.
Yeah.
So way down the track, Tony Munro tries to make amends by buying the lad a house, paying for his wedding, sending them on a world tour for their honeymoon. Boy, I would have liked to have had some of that. I mean, I could say something really crude here, but I won't.
No, I don't.
All I finished up with, but I won't because I've mentioned that before. And so I think it was illegal that they took Tony Munro into court for the third conviction, because legally he had signed the papers, paid the money, etc., and had an agreement with the third victim. Somehow, because, and I'm right here, because they had to get him off the street, they had to keep him away until they're hoping he would have been dead by now. So they threw this third conviction at him and keep him in prison till he died. But he's alive because his mother, his family lives to be 100. You know, like me, I'm never going to die unless I forget to take a breath while talking. If I start going blue in the face, somebody just me, please. But I can breathe on my own. I don't need to be resuscitated. But the thing is, you see, SAPOL engineered third conviction for Anthony Munro so they could put him away for longer. Well, he's out, and I reckon he's angry. And if I was his, what do we call ourselves now? Secretary is not the way to say it. If I was his personal advisor, I'd be getting him to sue people that say horrible things about him. And so they should, because he's a pedophile. Let's not forget about that. He's a guy that couldn't keep his hands off children. That's obvious. Yeah. If they really did it the right way, it'd be, oh, you're in for your second conviction. I think we better leave you there, mate.
Yeah.
Because you can't keep your hands off children. Yeah. But money buys a lot of stuff. And as I started to say, Anthony Munro bought his freedom. He paid a considerable amount of money to the complainants, which is fair enough. And these people that whinge about him getting out early and should be in prison for the rest of his life, they shouldn't say that, because they accepted the money. I'm sticking my neck out here, and I know I'll probably lose a friend over this, and I'm not having a go at him by any means. But you accept these people's money, you accept the conditions, and that is that he got a lighter sentence. That's all I'm going to say about Anthony Munro.
And I'll just put my 2 cents in. Our father groomed Munro. So in our family, because of what we know, the way that our father operated, the hypnosis that he used, and I am not excusing anything that Munro did.
No.
But he was a child at one point, and our father got hold of him. And 10% of people who are sexually abused as children end up being abusers. If our father had been stopped early when all of this started, maybe there wouldn't be so many bloody pedophiles running around. Yeah,
this was grooming was just everywhere. But this is a statement that I so carefully made up to read at the sentencing of Anthony Munro for myself and another guy who's a friend of mine. I wrote this out and I gave spaces, not because Max always put it out there that I'm intellectually delayed past borderline retardation. So I wrote, that's really offends me, but I wrote all of this, right? And it goes on and on. And what it did was it explained how, nobody's ever seen that, explained how Anthony Munro was a really top lad when I met him when he was 16. And then he gradually changed, and it took a couple of years, and then it was sort of like, and then he eventually, with the help of Bruce Larwood, thanks mate Bruce, turned into a violent rapist. And I mean violent rapist. Bruce and him thought it was a hell of a joke what happened to me at Rapid Bay. But even with my evidence that was presented for Anthony Munro's trial, it was doctored. And a shout out to, what was that lady's name? Love her a lot. She even went to do research on me and try to get photographs when I give them leads. Anyway, I'd give her name if I could, but I can't remember it. She's not that important to me. She changed the dates of the offending by 1 year. And this is what they do. And the judge would be going, oh, young Andy's delusional, because How can he be raped at Rapid Bay and be raped in Kangaroo Island almost on the same day? Like, doesn't add up. So
and that's happened with myself.
with
Police have
Ruth,
changed dates with Ruth, our
Ruth
sister,
Collins,
and with Andrew. They changed the dates on purpose.
and sorry, Ruth, but you're not going to dodge this. You should speak more like I do. You should come out and be upfront like you used to be. I don't know what's happened to you. To be honest, I have no idea. This is the article that forced Anthony Munro to come back to Australia, other than having a warrant out for his arrest for murdering children, because children in his care were being found in the rubbish tip. That's pretty serious. And we all know about how he'd rather, like maybe the ISIS people coming back because they'd rather have free dentistry, accommodation, being supported rather than be in a prisoner camp over in the Middle East. So that's something I really don't want to get involved in, and I don't really have an opinion. But Tony came back because of this article. And the young lass that did this brilliant article then didn't have a job, went back to America.
Yeah.
But, you know, it wasn't Brian Littley and his posse that went over there and rounded him up. He came home of his own free will to face the music, because his very words were, he was talking to John Pike at the time, I'd rather spend my time in an air-conditioned cell in Australia than in a sweaty small cell with 40 Cambodian men without air conditioning in Cambodia. And that's the truth. That's why Tony Munro came back. He's done his time and now he can behave himself.
Yeah.
And
let's hope he does.
with Anthony Munro, I wouldn't have challenged the whole thing. It was a long time ago, but I wanted the Beaumont children to be dug up, and that is what it's all about. And if Anthony Munro, I hope you're listening to this. I hope you're smart enough to get onto my Facebook site and listen to what I've had to say. And I used to think you murdered the Beaumont children, but now I know that you were a witness because John Pike told me. And I have according to Brian Littley, about 6 to 8 hours of interviews between myself and John Pike and Max. And they were sold to Channel 7 for $8,000 and then handed to Sapol. That's pretty bloody dishonest. I could have used that money for my own work. But anyway, in there's a whole lot of stuff. And John Pike was a witness. Anthony Munro was a witness. And Anthony Munro, I'll state again, rang up police, dobbed Max in, told them everything, and then the cover-up started. Policemen in the street. And if you dig up that time capsule, you'll be able to read all about it.
Yeah.
And Peter Malinauskas is in on the cover-up because he flatly refused to dig up the Beaumont children. On national television.
He's our premier.
And he knows all about it. And I'd say every premier of South Australia in the last 60 years has known about it. Every head of police commission has known about it as well. And they've all covered it up and they've left the paper trail. And even...
sorry, I just want to ask you, so is it safe to assume that your premier currently is in on this dirty action?
I'll just say one thing. There was a photograph of him recently in the paper, Shanti, and he was doing...
Careful what you say.
Oh, gosh.
Careful what you say.
I've just done the symbol.
Well, anyway, I don't know what that means because I don't even try to inhale it.
I never do it. I never do this.
Yeah, precisely.
No idea.
You have to be careful with that one because everybody's okay. Premiers are fine in South Australia because Max used to get the dirt on them if they're in the closet or whatever, like Don Dunstan. He wasn't in the closet. He was right out there. But they all get to be premiers for as long as they want while they toe the line. Now, the Castleroy dig here was an absolute farce, an ongoing joke for police. And see this document here? That is the one that I finished off in 2015. Anything highlighted in yellow was something I added. But on reading the first one that I delivered to Sapol in 2011, I told them where the Beaumont children were buried, who was involved, how they got there. Anthony Munnery took me over to show me, to save his own life, etc., etc., etc. It's all in there. It's signed. And Craig Roberts, it's really great having a barrister as a good friend. I tell you what, that's handy. That's probably kept me alive. Well, it's all here. And what I'm trying to say is, when did the first Castelloid dig happen?
2008.
Or was it 9? It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Let's allow them to say that SAPOL that they didn't know any better because they were trying to blame it on Phipps. Yeah. Apparently he appears that he wasn't a nice bloke, but again, I never saw him do anything. It's all hearsay, and there are witnesses. But yet for the 2009, okay. But then they did the next dig in 2014 when they already had this document here. They'd also had the previous one for 3 or 4 years, and they did the dig. So it was a big joke. Now, I have to be careful what I say here, but let's just say that the detective that headed that dig finished up in tears for a very good reason, because he'd read this document in 2011 and he knew where the Beaumont children were buried. So he wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money on a joke, just on an exercise, and the media lapped it up. And all 3 digs, the media made mega bucks out of it. They got to interview me on the second one when I was on holidays with my barrister mate, Craig. I'm being phoned up from Sydney because Sydney had a real big interest in it. And they're asking me about it. I said, well, they can only find maybe the 3 wards of state there, but the Beaumont children can't be in 2 places at once. Everybody knows where the Beaumont children are buried, you see. So that was, and he shed a tear at the end of that. I felt sorry for him because he knew what a crock of shit it was and what a PR exercise it was just to make money and lead people in the wrong direction. Well, when the last one came up, I was invited down there. I'd go down there daily. I wasn't trying to be a groupie of digs or something. I just was asked to go down there. But people would walk up to me and recognize me. And it was just a great big farce. Yeah. And they dug. I spoke to the guy who provided all the digging equipment. And I made a guesstimate of 100,000 tons or something. It was 150,000 tons. 150,000 tons they dug, and they couldn't find one bone.
Whereas they could get a shovel
and dig up Stansbury in 4 hours.
One person could do it.
I could dig the whole lot up, but I'd need a mortuary bus the size of the one they built to take down to Port Arthur 2 weeks before the massacre.
Yeah.
I'd need one that wouldn't be big enough for all the bodies that we're going to pull out of this hole, because the tunnel goes, Rachel's been in it. The tunnel went from the bottom of the sinkhole down to the beach, and it's full of dead people, human remains. My father would take them out in sacks and get the sea lice, you'd call them sand fleas over there, to eat them to shiny bones, and then collect them up, walk up the beach in front of Rachel, bag full of skulls, and go in there and then place them along the wall.
Yeah.
So you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah, it's a crypt. I mean, there are so many sinkholes in that area, and that's why they won't touch it.
All of the others I'm not interested in. Yeah. Only the one at Stansbury. It would take 4 hours to dig it up. And even now I'm trying to have something done. And the government departments keep handballing it from department to department to department. But Craig's writing up a letter for them to give them a bloody nose. I hope their platelets are in good numbers to stop the bleeding, because you can also bleed from other areas too if you get a big enough fright. So yeah, they're just stonewalling and waiting for Andy to die, and then they're waiting for Rachel's generation to die, and they just keep having a good laugh and they play their game and go, and the witness dies. Then they have a celebrate and a giggle. No, nothing's changed. They're all playing a game.
The beauty about these times is that these shows will always be out there. And, you know, when we talk about these things, we put it out publicly, and especially you guys that are breaking the way, for this evil to be exposed. And I mean, it's a mammoth task that you guys are doing. I mean, I'm just sitting here. And again, I always think, I mean, I'm from the opposite side of the spectrum there, where I have had no abuse. Yeah, I come from a family where my siblings kind of like avoidant, but that's about, I mean, I had the most amazing parents. My father would kill anyone if they touched us. It was that. So to imagine what you went through, what I had as a kid and to what you guys have gone through, I can imagine, but to imagine living through that with my father. And I looked at the pictures of the two wives, Andrew, your mom, and Rachel, yours. They are so, they're like little puppets just sitting there.
Well, I had no idea.
Exactly. And I think that is, that's the tragedy. And I want to just ask you this, maybe, how have you reconciled in your own, and this is more like a personal question, because I always admire you survivors for what you've been through, and to sit here and to talk about these things in a rational way means you've come through a lot. You've done a lot of healing. You've come, you've come to a place where you can see the sense in this. How do you rationale that with what your dad has been? I mean,
well,
do you understand what I'm asking? There are no words to ask that question.
I have a lot to say about that, but I'll let Rachel make a comment on that.
Well, I mean, again, I take it from the point of view, and I refuse to be a victim. So I look at it from the point of view, well, I'm in a position now because I have survived it and I've gone through my healing where I can actually speak out and expose this stuff. And I find I feel great purpose in that. We have a sister who died in very dodgy circumstances. Andrew's mother died in very dodgy circumstances, and we have a niece who died in the same circumstances.
And a grandfather with a bullet through his head.
And
Matt laughed about that before they'd even found the body.
So there's 4 family members in our family alone.
And my great-grandfather picked up his shaving and he slit himself from ear to ear, and Max laughed and he said, and you should have seen him writhing all around on the floor in his own blood. And I went, my God, you cut his throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he shot my grandfather through the head on my mother's side. He smothered my mother with a pillow and then told everybody I'd raped her and smothered her with a pillow. He murdered Claire, or he got somebody in the military to do it for him, but I think he just sort of like broke a neck because he was rung up and told to by SAPOL. Oh, there's such a list. He who else did he kill that was a family member?
Well, how did Barry die?
Barry died of just old age. But, even my distant brother, I suppose, a distant uncle on Rachel's side, wrote a suicide note. Had 4 or 5 kids and a job and everything, ex-army, young, probably only in his 30s.
45.
And he killed himself. But I bet he didn't write the letter and mail it to his father. That would have been my father went over there and killed him. You see, you have to look in our family of all these people that died mysteriously, and then you go, well, who's the pathological murderer in the family?
Yeah.
And my great-grandfather slit himself from ear to ear with his cutthroat razor. I used to talk to him at my grandmother's place because, she was looking after her mother and her father, my grandmother on my mother's side. But Max was telling me how he died. Like he'd tell you how a lot of these kids in the family murders died.
Yeah.
And somebody told it was either Ruth Collins, my sister, or one of her friends who was helping her investigate, that Max was always there, could describe how everybody died because he was there. And some prisoner in Yatla came up with that one. How come Max always knows how people die?
Yeah.
Because he was there. He was always waiting to pick up the bodies. But yeah, that's there are others that I've, forgotten about that have been murdered.
And the reason I mentioned particularly our sister and our niece is because I've been asked to be, someone's tried to silence me yesterday.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
And I won't stop talking about it.
But because of what we've been saying, she's gone, duh, and the pennies dropped.
Finally.
And because what she's heard from myself, Rachel and Ruth, she started to think that maybe her mother, her daughter, and her grandmother, and her sister, her grandmother,
her mother, and her sister.
Yeah, I'm getting all confused. So many deaths in the family. Let's just say my sister Claire, this was Poppy's mother, and then Poppy hangs herself on the special day of the solstice, summer solstice
in 2024.
See, that's giving us a message that it's deliberate, right?
Yeah.
It's deliberate because it's done on special days of all the 364 5 days of the year. They're always telling us and rubbing our noses in it. But SAPOL just sits back and go, oh, another suicide. Women always hang themselves. Apparently they don't. Apparently they only hang themselves in the McIntyre family.
Yes, and to have a mother and a daughter both do it, and their mother has also, so grandmother, a mother, and a daughter.
Yeah, that's it. The grandmother was my mother. That's right.
3 generations dead in one family. No coroner's inquisition. Nothing.
But there's more than that, because then her father was shot through the head.
Okay, there you go.
And then
4 generations.
And then the generation before him slit his throat with his cutthroat razor.
Oh my God, it's 5.
That's a flush, isn't it?
Jesus.
Yeah, that's 5.
Oh, never.
There you go. We've just put the effort. We've put it all together. But I'll sleep well tonight. I'll be all right.
Wow. Sure.
So, we are getting to it. That's what Claire looks like. And in case Leanne wants to get upset about me showing her mother to people, and we reckon the towel in her hand belonged to the Beaumont children. And what else has she had that belonged?
A shoe, her shoes.
Yeah. We finished up with the Beaumont children's shoes, but that's the book, Little Women.
Now, this is really significant, Shanti. I know you probably have to go, darling. Can you see the butterfly?
Yes, I can.
So Jane Beaumont, one of the Beaumont children, went missing with this book.
This is a copy of the book. This is a later edition.
With the butterflies. I didn't know. I never knew that had butterflies on it.
Look how beautiful.
No way.
Beautiful everywhere. It's a real collector's item.
Now, our niece.
I found it in New South Wales.
A copy of that book from our sister. Our niece was going to give that copy because we believe it was from Jane.
That was the one from Jane. It was
now,
Jane's
she was going
book.
to give her copy to someone in our family.
So then she was hung.
Then she was found dead. So, Leanne, if you're watching, that's the evidence that you need.
Yeah. And that's about, we're getting there. That was a big one when I almost promised that it would be bearable. But it never is, because I'm insane. Ask SAPOL.
We've got
young Andy, the lunatic.
Multiple times, and we're not crazy.
Because what's really funny?
We like your kind of crazy on this channel. we all say kind of
intellectually delayed. Haven't you noticed I'm intellectually delayed? Now, I don't want to have to go at intellectually delayed people, but apparently I am, because without even doing an IQ test, I'll put it out there for trolls to have a go at me. I apparently have an IQ of 62. Now, they said
maybe like 162.
Martin Bright, I'm probably high functioning crazy, but definitely.
You're not, darling. You've been assessed.
But
no, you haven't.
IQ is 62. That's the official IQ for Andrew McIntyre. I never sat for an IQ test. My mother had just been murdered. I went to a school where I was in absolute shock with anxiety, and I sat there and they put this book in front of me and a pencil, and I just sat there and looked at it for an hour because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't talk. I was speechless. I couldn't write. I couldn't do anything. So how can that be an IQ test? I didn't do an IQ test, but my father chuckling away, thought he'd set me up. So he gave me 62 from his cohorts and pedophiles in the education department. I get 62. So they probably wondered how I could still breathe without an iron lung, but apparently I could. And so I got to second year, but I'd made so much progress in first year that they put me up to C track. You got A, B, and C. They put me up to C track, which was great. I was doing really well. But the students that should have been in A track that were rat bags and didn't want to work or learn, they went down to C. And I saw them out there one day reading this book and thought nothing of it. And then they harassed me and bullied me, a group of 5 of them, for most of the year. I asked the teacher to do something about it. And he said, I said, they're coming up and pushing me around in the school lesson and you're not doing anything. Oh, I'm a pacifist. I should have slapped him across the face.
Yes.
These days I'd take his head off. Yeah. But all that aside, so I was picked on and bullied through school until I stood up for myself and cleaned up some bully in front of 2,000 children, and nobody went near Andy again. I was completely untouchable after that because I could have broken his neck. I just choked him out till he was nearly unconscious, and then I let him go, and then I nearly got the hiding of a lifetime because he knew how to handle himself. Never let somebody go when you've got the better of them. It's a big mistake. But anyway, people stopped bullying me, but I still have nightmares about being bullied on almost a nightly basis. So I'm haunted by being bullied. And if you saw me face to face, you wouldn't bully me. I'm still, even though I shrunk, I'm still 6 foot tall and I'm about 110 kilos. But, you know, that's considered small now. But when I was a lad, it was considered I was big enough. So, yeah, I've been bullied all my life and I hate being bullied. God help anybody that bullies me because, well, I've already told you what I do to people.
And that's part of the whole MK Ultra thing, you
know. I'm over
it. You get this constant harassment. Andrew, Ruth and I were assessed by a very high-level psychiatrist in Adelaide when we're trying to get police to pay attention to what we'd actually been through. And Vance Topman's assessment was that we're all well above average intelligence. So
I was shocked, of course, knowing that I was intellectually delayed because even I can't be retarded because I'd be offended. Where's that little piece of paper? The first one that we put in the advertiser. I'll show you where it all started.
And then we better let it go.
And then we better let you go so you can try to censor all of this.
I have posted this one publicly.
Yeah. This is an article, the first one in the advertiser, when they're looking at the gravy train. Now they cashed in on this one from 2007 right up until recently. Yeah. Because if they want some information, they go to Andy. Yeah. And then they only put about 5%. And I'm sick to death of journalists, and I've rung them up and had a go at them, put them straight, never to keep asking me questions skillfully until they strike a nerve and I start to get emotional. Yeah. And that's all they ever show on the television. Andrew, the nervous wreck. Well, I'm not a nervous wreck. I'm a dangerous man. And Safehold are terrified of me. But there's a few good guys out there. And on wrapping up, there is a development, and I have to be very careful what I say. We know we had confirmation of the 3 mass grave sites in South Australia. That's been confirmed by a high-ranking officer. But we have another branch, and I won't even name them, of somebody who said, I'm being extensively investigated. They couldn't believe their jaws dropped when they went through my Facebook page, and somebody rang up a family member and said, is this true? And the family member said, of course it is. Andrew McIntyre only speaks the truth. And they said, oh, this is a problem. We're going to have to try to arrange to meet him without phones or surveillance or anything, because if any of us are caught talking to Andrew McIntyre in this investigation, we will be kicked out of the police force. Yeah. We will be sent up to the APY lands. We'll be sent to some outback station and lost, or finish up like Doug Barr. Now, I can't even mention names because it's so dangerous for these people, but I reckon he's a guy that came over to see me as a cadet detective way back in 2016, I reckon, when I was involved in the Anthony Munro case. And I reckon it's him, but I'm not going to identify him. And he doesn't want to be identified. But it's so bad that he has to meet me secretly. So I'm waiting for a family member to get to me for the arrangement, right? No, I mean, I could be going to my execution, but I'm not because I have to stay alive.
Yeah.
So they can keep playing their game with me, you see, because I'm part of a big joke. So is Rachel. We're all part of a joke, this game they play called Go. And if anybody wants to look it up, it was Chinese 5,000 years ago. It was taken off the Japanese in the Second World War. And on the box I have, probably the only one left in Australia, because Freemasons are buried with it, I would say. It's the game we stole from the Japs in New Guinea. So how's that for a laugh? And it's got a picture of a Australian soldier jumping over a trench with a bayonet on his rifle. So that goes back. But yeah, and
Wow.
do you know who investigates and watches over all policemen in the South Australian Police Force? Major crimes. So there you go, major crimes. You're the Gestapo of SAPOL. You are the Gestapo of SAPOL. You guys dress in plain clothes, but the rest of you guys dress in black. We're like a military force. Our police tower over us like a military force here in South Australia. And we're supposed to, it's done deliberately. I listened to a psychologist talking about it because black is military, SAS, or it's military stormtroopers type stuff. And so that's what we're faced with here. But there's some good guys in there. I was going to say that I don't like anybody in SAPOL these days. But if they open their mouths up, they get sacked or they disappear. Fact, and I only speak the truth. But there's an undercurrent going there. I've met some policemen that have said they watch my Facebook site. Well, wouldn't they be wide-eyed at the moment? But just on separating, we had a Four Corners program here that you should look at overseas. It was about the New South Wales Police Force. They bully, bash and bully and bash some more ordinary innocent civilians till they nearly kill them. They should be prosecuted for attempted murder. One guy they set upon him was only 50 kilos. A guy kept kneeing him in the chest and was being held down by other policemen till he had 12 broken ribs. That's attempted murder. Yeah. They slammed his face into a steel cell. They slammed him in the wall. They slammed him onto the concrete. It was all shown on body camera. We had two young detectives beat up a naked woman who was on the footpath, and she was suffering from a mental disorder, but she was suffering from bipolar, I think, and a schizophrenia. And before the ambulance could get there, they had kicked her, beaten her, and bashed her for 20 minutes, dragging her around by the hair while kicking her and kicking her in the head. And they got up to her eyeballs with pepper spray, spraying it up under her eyelids, and they sprayed her vagina as well. And that's the shit we have to put up with here in Australia. 3,000 complaints a year against New South Wales police, and they only looked at 20. They only prosecuted 2.
It's what happens, you know. And New South Wales, Victoria Police has the upside down pentagram, and all the police in Australia have the black and white checkerboard. That's their insignia.
But the police in South Australia are not like that. They're not in your face, they're into your back, right? But in New South Wales, they are thugs and bullies. So watch the program, and that does make me red in the face. It was appalling.
It's horrific. It really is.
I agree. And I have family members who've had similar experiences with police in Australia. So I'm also getting that kind of stuff firsthand. Wow, guys, before my internet dies. Yeah.
Well, that's been entertaining. Thank you, everybody, and appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
Sorry,
we'll see
people out there that are a bit upset about this, but bad luck.
No, there's no. We're very grateful. The only ones we have a large nose with purpose. I take great delight in sticking my nose into the dark nest hive. I'm very proud of sticking my nose into their business.
Anything we say, we can back up with documents. Occasionally, like on my generation from the 50s and 60s, Rachel takes over in the 70s. But if Rachel says something about the work that I do, and Ruth Collins as well, we mustn't leave Ruth out. But I wish, Ruth, you'd speak up and get back into it again. I don't know why you went so quiet, but you must be entertained by me speaking on your behalf. We back everything up that we say. We don't bullshit. We don't embellish or exaggerate. We can back up everything we say. And if Rachel doesn't get it quite right in an article, she'll run it past me. I'll correct a couple of minor things, because we have to keep it. We're under scrutiny.
Yeah.
We make one mistake, we make one wrong call, and we'll be attacked.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The way it is. All right.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you, and we will see you back here next month, same place, same time. Yeah,
yes,
we good?
yeah.
Awesome. Look forward to that. Andrew, thank you. You know, I really appreciate that. I also sit and I think about Adrian John Wells. I mean, I wonder if you've ever come across him, because he's, you know, he's harassed in a similar way to what you are. And I mean, what this poor man as well has been through. And that's why I say it's so bad in Australia when it comes to this. And all we can really do is keep shining our light and keep exposing this disgusting practices.
With us, it's in our backs. It's in our backs here.
Yeah.
South Australian police are nothing like the New South Wales police. They're not in your face, they're in your back. And they put innocent people in prison and they keep them there until they die. And then they say, oh, if you can't show us where the body is, we won't let you out of prison. How would you feel if you're innocent?
And there's no body to show because you're innocent.
No idea.
The worst kind of torture. I mean, how torturous is that? Wow.
Psychopaths work their way to the top in industry, commerce, and the police force. They step over all their good comrades and they just leave them in the gutter. And they move to the top. And that's the way it is. Any psychologist will tell you that. All right. Well, we better sign off. It's been enjoyable.
Guys. Well, for those of you who watched from the beginning, I'm out of power again. We're in the middle of another rainy, floody thing. So I still have backup for probably today and a bit of tomorrow. But I've got to keep backed up. So keep our community in your prayers. Lots of rain happening at the moment. And we just like to believe that, in fact, I've no doubt it's actually clearing what needs to be cleared, because this is a chief child transportation area in which I live. Okay, Adrian John Wells, Mary Lou, Wells, Wells. He's actually, we've just done 2 reruns of his earlier shows. Actually shocking as well. Look forward to seeing you guys back again. Take good care, everybody. God bless you all, and see you on the flip side.
My face might be red, but I'm not having a heart attack. In case there's people in SAPOL that are worried about me. I'm just agitated.
I love it. You agitate us and we'll stick our noses, big nose, into your nasty business. We smell it all out. We'll sniff it out. Your days are numbered. Okay, guys.